Welcome to No Apologies on Beck. I'm your host, Lori Hinz, and I have to tell you that tonight's show is going to be a treat for all of us because three of my favorite male humans are going to be on the program tonight. We will start tonight with the Rick Becker, who is back.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and I'm thinking you're pretty comfy in that chair, but I think the whiskey probably helps. Or is it rye this time?
I think this is rye.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I had to get to the bottom of the barrel to give me a call.
It's not it at all. We had to get you in from your busy schedule. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
So you have some pretty timely topics to talk about. First of all, just this massive spending bill that was pushed through at warp speed, I should say.
Yep.
And it's a $40 billion with a B bill, and it's a Ukraine package.
Yep. For our next segment, I'm going to be talking about the NDGOP and some things that could actually extend into about 10 of your segments, but I thought I'd mix it up. So yeah, for this first one, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Ukraine aid that was voted on last week, passed in the House, and it's for $40 billion. Now, we already sent over an aid package of, I forget, 13 or 18 billion. And it's crazy that you don't even know. We just throw billions around like nothing.
No problem, right?
So the interesting thing is Biden asked for $33 billion more to go to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And
that just wasn't enough.
So Congress said, hey, you know what? We need to ramp that up even more because we are doing so well in America, we can afford to help out more. And so they decided on $40 billion.
Sarcasm.
Yes. And but here's the thing. It sailed through in the House. It was a vote of 368 to 57.
57.
57.
That's all that we have of spines.
All Republicans in the 57, no Democrats. And there were some very strong Republicans that voted no. Our own Congressman Kelly Armstrong voted yes. And here's the problem I have. Right from the get-go, I've been very iffy on this whole Russia-Ukraine situation because I don't think we have all the facts. And as I've mentioned before, we learned, I would hope that we learned with COVID that when all of the channels are telling us to believe one thing and it's all in unison, and if anyone throws any questions up, then they're labeled some bad word, it gives one pause to say, maybe I don't have the full story. So I don't know what's going on. I think it's terrible if, in fact, what we are being told is 100% true. And we always want to help other nations that are having issues, humanitarian issues, but we want to stay out of conflict.
Right.
We should have learned that in Vietnam.
You'd think.
And we didn't. And we keep on going. And especially with the debacle in Afghanistan, you'd think that we would really want to stay out of it. But yet we keep inching closer. So anyway, this $40 billion aid package passed in the House, has not gone through the Senate yet. But what it includes, I wrote out a few things here, is $19.75 billion to Ukraine for defense aid. Now, you would assume that that's what all $40 billion is for.
You'd think, but
right.
No, of course not.
$3.9 billion goes to pay troops deployed, our troops deployed. Now I'm like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
Troops deployed? I don't want any troops deployed. Certainly not an amount that warrants about $4 billion. That's nuts. And again, that everything is ramped up. That pulls us into war. There's just under $1 billion for refugee support, which includes English language training and PTSD, things, whatever. $8.8 billion for diplomatic economic support. $4.4 billion to the Foreign Ministry of Finance to help other countries that are surrounding the area of the war, as well as other NATO countries. Mm-hmm. So we're giving $4.5 billion to other countries, not Ukraine, $4.5 billion. And some of those include NATO countries, which they should be paying money. Why are we paying them? $4.35 billion for global food shortage. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no baby formula.
It is bad. This is an epic proportions problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then this one is really wonderful. $500 million, $500 million to the European Bank.
Oh, this is loaded with.
To the European Bank for Development and Reconstruction. So I don't understand where, when we have inflation going on because we have so far overspent, and we've hammered that over and over, in your show we cover it all the time, and yet because we want to appear generous and compassionate, these congressmen and these senators are like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm so compassionate, I'm going to not 33 billion, Mr. President, we're doing 40 billion. And it's Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer hand in hand singing Kumbaya, which should give everyone chills.
Agreed. Now, Chip Roy was very outspoken.
Yes, let's roll that, baby.
That tape.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The gentleman from Maryland talked about protecting this institution, or talked about this institution, but we got a $40 billion bill at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't had a chance to review the bill. My staff is poring over the pages trying to see what's in it. You want to talk about the institution? You want to talk about standing up alongside Ukraine? Why don't we actually have a debate on the floor of the People's House instead of the garbage of getting a $40 billion bill at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not paid for, without having any idea what's really in it, with a massive slush fund that goes to the State Department, $13 billion, $8 billion for the Economic Support Fund, $110 million for embassy security. We've got $40 billion that is unpaid for, and you want to sit here and lecture this body about what we're going to do or not do about standing alongside Ukraine? Why don't we talk about the American people who are hurting, the wide open borders, the inflation that's killing people, the jobs that people can't get because of the cost of goods and services in this country? Sitting here and being lectured to when I don't even have time to look at a $40 billion unpaid bill. I make a motion to adjourn.
So that was that. Now, it went over to the Senate. The Senate is expected to pass it in flying colors. Rand Paul put a stop to it, and for very good reason. You've got a short tape of that. Let's roll that.
My oath of office is to the U.S. Constitution, not to any foreign nation. And no matter how sympathetic the cause, my oath of office is to the national security of the United States of America. We cannot save Ukraine by dooming the U.S. economy. In March, inflation hit a 40-year high. Gasoline alone is up 48%, and energy prices are up 32%.
So he brings up a good point. What he wants, the reason he's putting a hold to it is he just said, hey, I want an amendment in the bill that says that that allows for the Inspector General to oversee how the funds are spent. That seems reasonable. They're losing their minds because he doesn't just go along to pass it. And what they're saying is, you're causing this to be delayed. They can pass it. Now, this by the time this show airs, because we pre-recorded, this will have been decided. So it's a matter of just a couple of days that they have to wait to get a great amendment on that protects the citizens of the United States.
Just shoving it through.
I hate politicians.
It's more par for the course, but it's something we absolutely cannot afford. It's ridiculous.
No. So I'm pissed at the NDGOP. And here's the reason. Things are really starting to clarify with an abundance of evidence and foundation for really understanding what leadership and specific individuals in the NDGOP are about.
Okay.
When it comes, because we're looking at a primary coming up.
Right.
We're looking at the convention that happened. We're looking at so many things that have been occurring, and it really, really bothers me because several of us, true conservatives, have tried to and focused on making the Republican Party stronger, and doing so by sticking to the principles. And we think it's great for North Dakota because then people can say, I like these principles, therefore I like the whole Republican thing, or I don't like those principles and therefore I've got another party to go to. And I've referred to people that call themselves Republicans that are not necessarily very concerned about the principles as establishmentarians. But I've really changed over to saying country club Republicans, because establishmentarian means this establishment, this block, this structure, this history of a political party, that you're all about that. But if you're really about the party, you would care about process. What I'm finding is that the country club Republicans don't care about process. What they care about is their club, and that is all they care about. And we saw it back in 2020 with the primary there. And we're seeing it now to a great degree. We even saw it with Senator Hoeven. Senator Hoeven, who's, you could say, the stalwart of the Republican Party, the most looked up to elected official in the Republican Party, would not stick by or pledge to honor the convention, which is the process of the party. Even he would not do that. Now, they're going so far as to completely ignore the endorsing process. They want their people in, and they don't care about anything else. When it comes to donating, when it comes to supporting, when it comes to undermining competition, anybody who comes in as a grassroots and does things right, you get people there. That's the whole point. You get people to your district conventions, you get support, and then you're the endorsed candidate. You therefore should have the support of the Republican Party because you played by the Republican Party rules. All of that has gone away, and I think that these country club Republicans that are in power now and have been in power for the last several decades have now completely ruined the Republican Party in North Dakota. I really find myself at a point in time that I don't know how we redeem it. Perhaps if we win a lot of these contests in the primary and we get the momentum going in a respectable fashion, maybe it'll turn things around. But we're looking at just last week, Friday night, midnight was the deadline for reporting.
Right.
Where you have to report where you got your contributions, where PACs have to report. And so there is a lot to be gleaned from that. We can talk a lot more about that, but I think you have one thing up.
Let's show the graphic of this.
There's so many, Lori, there's so many, but there's one pulled up here. Now, this is from the House Republican Leadership Fund. Right, so this is Chet Pollard. He's the majority leader. He has control over this. Lobbyists donate to the Republican Leadership Fund, and then they can put their money into other races. And you'll notice over on the right-hand side, you've got Jim Greenike and Dwight Kiefert. They each received, Jim received $2,500 and Dwight received $2,000. These are two people who were not endorsed. They ran in their district conventions. They were not endorsed. They are going against endorsed people. And yet the majority
this is the House
leader,
Republican Leadership Fund, which is contributing to somebody who was not endorsed.
Right, not endorsed. Running against somebody who's endorsed in the party. It's unbelievable, and it's just so brazen. And you've got people in various districts too. That you can take the Jim Greenike one, for instance. Mike Brandenburg was endorsed, along with Sebastian Ertelt for Senate and Logering for House. Well, it turns out Brandenburg is saying, screw these conservatives that were endorsed along with me. I'm going to run with the unendorsed people. See, that's what I'm getting at, Lori. Nobody cares about anything when it comes to process and procedure in the Republican Party in North Dakota. They care about one thing.
Up to the district chair to make sure that this is occurring properly? Is this a chair issue?
Yes and no. In many cases, the chairs are fully in support of this type of behavior. But on the other hand, the chairs can't force. You can't force the candidates to. But it kind of chaps my butt a little bit because for all these years I've tried, and others like me have tried to play by the rules and tried to make the party stronger. And then these guys just trounce on the rules and call themselves real Republicans. Now, case in point, we've got Jessica Bell. She ran. It was a wonderful convention, district convention, and yeah, go ahead and play. So she's having a fundraiser, and you see co-hosts, honorary co-hosts, Governor Doug Burgum, Senator John Hoeven, Kelly Armstrong. Under the hosts, you have a litany of various lobbyists, all sorts of lobbyists. You have got Nate Martindale, who is the chair of the PAC that Doug Burgum runs to take out conservatives. That person, they're supporting Jessica Bell. Now, Jessica Bell ran in her district convention. There were like 400 people there in District 33. I was there. It was amazing. It was well done. And it was fair. And she lost. She's not endorsed. Keith Boehm is endorsed. He's a fantastic candidate. And you've got Governor Burgum trying to put his thumb on the scales and is endorsing or is supporting the non-endorsed candidate. John Hoeven is as well, and Kelly Armstrong is, but Jessica has been kind of the pet project for Kelly for this whole time. But what's interesting is, what does Jessica represent? She does not represent conservative ideals. She represents a play ball, a get along. That's why Burgum wants her in. That's why Hoeven wants her in, because they are talking about billions of dollars for this carbon capture crap, and Jessica's fine to go along with that. Now, I've got a couple of videos here that, with Jessica that I think we ought to play.
My concern is that this is a constitutional amendment that was introduced and then was amended over in the House. And amendments certainly happen, but the amendment that was added was the word state to the word tax. And so with only one person testifying in favor of it and one amendment added over in the House, I am concerned that maybe we don't quite fully understand the full ramifications of what this could be. I'm not sure I do. If we're talking about a state tax, what exactly falls into that category, I'm not sure I'm very clear on. I'm not sure if that, I think it was intended to have it not include changes in the way property taxes are levied, but I'm not sure that I'm 100% comfortable that that's the case. And so, and when we're changing the Constitution, as I have preached for the last decade of my life, that is obviously a very big thing to do and a very big change. And of course, this would go to a vote of the people, but it's our job to make sure that the words are right. And I'm just not sure how that should be worded and if this is the right way.
Okay, so Jessica Bell is the chair of the Finance and Tax Committee.
All right.
She's talking on a bill that I sent over. It would have been a constitutional amendment that would have required the House and the Senate to have a 2/3 vote to increase your taxes. You would think she'd be in favor of that.
I would think she'd be in favor of that.
She was not in favor because she could not figure out what state tax meant. And she did not want to ask. I got another one for you here.
Okay.
No, there's not a, is there a video?
No, that was the only video. You had the first video was your first video.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so so anyway, yeah, we could talk about this. Jessica represents one of many situations throughout the state. She's supported by all of the leaders, and you look at what she's got here. She is the chair of the Finance and Tax Committee, and yet you see that is one of her weakest issues. She ranks like a Democrat. I've got a couple of other graphics here real quick. You see that she voted against protecting businesses from COVID shutdowns. Next, you see that she voted against protecting girls' athletics. We're talking about transgender. She voted against expanding school choice through tax credits. She voted against strengthening election integrity, if you can believe that.
Owie.
Yes. She voted against protecting free speech on college campus. She voted against reducing and eliminating the state income tax by using the legacy funds. And I'll tell you what, that does not jibe with conservative values or the people of North Dakota. And yet you've got the governor, you've got the senator, you've got the congressman, you've got the lobbyists, you've got the oil money, you've got the coal money. It's ridiculous. These people don't care about North Dakotans. They care about their own country club.
Well, thank you very much for all of that information.
Yeah.
I don't know that people maybe knew all of those things, so that's what we're here for.